Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. We've got an awesome unboxing episode today. 2 episodes ago, we had no guitars. This time, we've got 4 of them. So let's go ahead and check out what is in this box. So a couple of weeks back, I told you about a guy who was kind of liquidating some of his collection because he was planning on moving soon. That's where the Fender Foto Flame Telecaster came from. And I told you we just might see some more from his collection, and hey, here we go. Here's one of them. It's actually a pretty nice piece. He was selling about 6 or 7 guitars, but it's really that Foto Flame and the 2 guitars that I purchased from him this time that I was the most interested in. But first things first, our combo is set to 126. Always important to reset these things. You can check out more information in this episode, but to reset it, you just push it to the right, and then you select what it should be. Now, if you're a dealer, just set it to 000, and that's gonna save you a lot of headaches. What is inside this beautiful case here? I think you guys are gonna like it. You should already know it's kind of like a early 90s here with our pink blanket case shroud. I mean, even before they put the block right here, this is a Les Paul Classic. Now, this isn't just any ordinary Les Paul Classic either. It's actually a little bit special in that aspect as well. I mean, just looking at it, you might just be like, okay, very early Les Paul Classic because it's 1960 on the pick guard right there. And the inlays are known for being kind of yellow on these, but this one's so early, it doesn't quite have that effect to it yet. No, this is a first year Les Paul Classic. Well, first full year anyways. This is a 1990. So this was the 423rd Les Paul Classic made. And the first 2-year Les Paul Classics sell for a premium because, you know, back then these were like the high-end Les Paul and not necessarily like a slightly lesser variation on the Les Paul Standard. I mean, this actually ranked above the Standard back then. The only thing this thing didn't quite topple over were the prehistoric reissues of the era. But oh my goodness, I don't know if you guys can see this in this lighting, but it actually has a flamed mahogany neck. That is cool. It's got some pretty decent figuring in there. Not as crazy as like some of the maple necks that we've had, but this is just a beautiful plain top with a lot of wood grain going on here. So I think we'll just do a full review and documentation of this, but since I was buying out his collection and he prefers to be paid by check, I wanted to get this unboxed on the show, make sure everything checked out so I can send him his money because I know he's needing that for his move. So we will take a look at this Les Paul Classic another day. But I've got to say, he took very good care of this. And oh yes! No, I'm not excited about the switch tip. We got a Buckethead #1 stretch strap. Heck yes, I'm keeping this thing. That feels like a vintage one. It hasn't been stretched in a while. I'd say that's a pretty solid way to start off the episode. We'll save his other guitar for third, I think. But let's go ahead and open this. So you guys remember my new Guitar Day program? It's still slightly functioning. It's just not quite the same because brand new guitars are so highly sought after anymore. The market's crazy. I can't always guarantee I'll get one. But this one was placed a year ago, and I would have never, ever in a million years had guessed that it would take this long to get in here. This is the Epiphone 1959 Les Paul Standard. This poor guy probably thought Trogly's this giant big scammer and just stole his money. But no, it is finally here. I'm going to get to send it to him. But the other thing is, he ordered this back when they were $7.99. I think they're $8.99 now. So it was definitely in his best interest to keep waiting instead of ordering it from a different dealer here. But let's hope it was worth the wait. And hey, wow, that's actually pretty nice. So this new Guitar Day purchaser, he's already waited long enough. I'm not going to get to do the full review and documentation. But we already did the Joe Bonamassa Lazarus one, so it's essentially the same guitar, just in a different finish. We'll just go ahead and take a quick look at this. Honestly, the flame maple veneer on this one is actually nice and active. That is looking good. I mean, it still has that whole Epiphone feel to it because they use a different finish than Gibson does. But I can see why people are definitely raving about these things. Like, if you've got a little under $1,000 and you want something that looks like a 59 Standard, this is definitely something I could suggest to you. It even looks like our frets are nice and polished on this one. That's not always the case. This seriously reminds me of the Epiphone Alex Lifeson that we did, that I was just saying those frets are so beautifully polished. Some of the Epiphone frets are not so nice. They're scratchy, but after a good polish, they do feel good. I gotta get this thing packed back up later this episode. But let's go on over here and see what guitar number 3 is. The third one from that person's collection. Yep. He's always self-conscious because he doesn't have like the actual good boxes to send it in. His Les Paul Classic Pack job wasn't too bad. This one, yeah. Let's get it undone with the power of magic. Yeah, that actually wasn't too bad. But when he told me he had one of these, I was like, okay, I mean, they're not my favorite, but we've talked about them so often in like auction videos lately and in a wiring episode. I wanted to check one out because I heard that these things used a different finish, and even though 70s, 80s Fenders aren't the most highly sought after in the world, we've only ever like fully reviewed one. Unfortunately, it's not another Antigua, but it's another limited edition finish. So inside here sleeps the 25th anniversary Stratocaster. So we're going to probably do a full review and documentation on this one as well. This definitely seriously needs a good cleaning up, but he was proud of this guitar. And, you know, there's a lot of things that, even though we've talked about them, that I just didn't realize that made them different from other Stratocasters. So if you have anything that you'd like me to include in the video about this one, feel free to let me know, whether it's just an obscure fact or a particular question that you have about the 25th anniversary Stratocaster. Just let me know, because this is actually a pretty nice example. I mean, once I polish the frets up, get some fresh strings on this bad boy. I mean, it's aged a little bit. It's got a couple of nicks and dings. It's far from the worst one that I've ever seen out there. And we do have the original case, but do we have another buckethead strap? Ah, no. But, oh my goodness. We're smoking, my friends. We've got the ashtray cover here. Awesome. And even the original trem arm. Cool. I'll definitely be saving that one for a day when I have about 2 hours to make it look good. But honestly, kind of looking forward to this one. And now lastly, we have a really cool story. So there's been somebody who's been working with me. He's been waiting for the right lefty Les Paul custom to show up. And he finally found it, but it was in the Netherlands. What do you know? Another episode where we talk about the Netherlands. I told you guys, I buy from the Netherlands more often than I even realized. And this actually came from the Fellowship of Acoustics. We've talked about them in wiring episodes before. A lot of the people that work there are fans of my show, and they have a very interesting tagline to their box. But I never put two and two together that I probably could ask these guys to help me get one of those Jan Akerman signatures, because I had a lot of people say that they would help me, and I deeply want to thank everybody who did offer to help me on that. But you also have to know, from my standpoint, I've got to be really careful of whose help I accept, because not everybody on the internet has my best interest in mind, right? Sure, this guy might say, yeah, I'll buy it for you and send it to you, and then he'll just steal my money. But anyways, so today we get to check out a lefty Les Paul custom. But the biggest thing is it's his birthday on Sunday. So I'm going to secretly, get this to him on time, because he just ordered this like 3 days ago. This thing came ridiculously fast because we expedited it for him. I mean, he's going to watch this video tonight and be like, what, Trogly, you dog, you. But it's kind of been like a long time in the making for this guy. And it's not necessarily anything crazy rare, but he was just having a hard time finding a beautiful lefty Les Paul custom. This one done up in the gold hardware. Oh man, it's tricky to do lefties because I have to hold it in the opposite direction than I'm used to. So all my muscle memory is just not here. So he was kind of scared about the whole process of getting this back to the US, and I do offer a forwarding service. I can go from buying something in the US to shipping it out or bringing something in, and he definitely needed my help with this because UPS was getting crazy with their whole customs. Like, if you're buying a USA-made guitar and it's coming back to the US, you shouldn't have to pay any import duties and taxes. However, 9 times out of 10, if you get shipped with UPS or FedEx, they're going to try to charge it to you anyway, so you have to fight it. And thankfully, I've done it enough times. I've got the contacts. I can just submit the paperwork electronically when it gets shipped. And as long as I get a couple of signatures from the actual seller, then you're just absolutely golden and good to go. So thankfully, I was able to get this very expedited for him. So let's go ahead and get this packed up and then do a couple of other packing stories, because that's going to be a good surprise for him on his birthday on Sunday. Next up here, we have to say goodbye to that 1992 Les Paul Studio that we unboxed just the last episode. Fantastic guitars. I mean, I heard some varying opinions on these things, but for me, if I was a player just looking for a guitar to practice with, to gig with, and do everything, out of every single Les Paul I've ever had, I would choose a 90s era Les Paul Studio. They are your best value for the money, in my opinion, and they feel the best. They have that right blend of they're fancy, but not overly fancy, and they're a good weight, they're a good size. They have everything I could ever want. So whenever somebody asks me that question on my website or something, what guitar should I get? I always tell them 90s era Les Paul Studio, or get one of those 70s The Pauls if you want something a little bit flatter in the Les Paul world. But let's go ahead and get this one packed up. I don't need to tell you this story again. Let's get it packed out. Next, we say goodbye to the Dirty Fingers pickups with the coil splitting leads. So I had a lot of interest in these things. There was a guy looking to restore his ES335. Then I had somebody whose birth year was 1981, so we thought it'd just be cool to put these in a guitar. But what this ended up going to is a guy who's going to restore his Gibson XR1, which is essentially the precursor to the studio model in a roundabout way from the Extended Range series that you can check out here on YouTube that I've documented. So good has been done here. Let's back them up. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.